Good morning. I will be there tomorrow, so I wanted to record this video so I didn't have to teach all day tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll just do an activity so I can walk around and help you guys. Please take a moment today at some point to say thank you to the sub that's been teaching in my classroom. Like I think she's done a really nice job, so please take a moment and say thank you to her at some point today. Okay, we are taking notes today. You'll need a calculator with a square root button and notes. Okay, first, the lesson is 22.1, solving equations by taking square roots. As a reminder, when you take square roots, like this is the square root symbol or a radical symbol, you guys learned this last year. It just means what number times itself is the number that's inside the radicand. So what number times itself is 16. So that's 4 times 4, because 4 times 4 is 16. But it's also negative 4, because negative 4 times negative 4. A negative times a negative is still positive 16. So the square root of 16 is 4, and it's also negative 4. So you're going to have to be careful going forward. We're so used to only putting the positive answers, especially in 8th grade, that was really pushed as the positive answers. But it's also those negative answers. On your calculator, grab your calculator so I can just double check if you know where all the square root buttons are. So if you're using a graphing calculator, the square root button, it's in blue, and it's right here. It's above the x squared. So since it's in blue, you need to hit the blue key first. So hit second and then this button, and now you'll get the square root there. And then you can just type in 16. It's only going to give you the positive answer though, so you have to remember that it's also the negative answer as well. Okay, the square root of 17. So is there any number times itself that's 17? And hopefully you realize that no, there isn't. If you put that into your calculator, square root of 17. Square root of 17 is irrational. It means there is no number that multiplies by itself. Your calculator is going to eventually round this answer because it's not going to want to write numbers going on forever. So this is not the answer. If your directions say to round it, yeah, you might round and say it's 4.1 or 4.12 or something like that. But the square root of 17 is just the exact answer, is just the square root of 17. Where if you had to approximate or round to, we'll say 2 decimal spots. So you'll have to read the directions because sometimes it wants the exact answer. So rounded it to 2 decimal spots would be to the 2. So look next door to see if I stay at 2, round up. It's a 3, so stay at 2. So it's 4.12. So we'd say it's about 4.12. Okay, so today we're going to be using that. We're going to solve equations where we have to do some square roots. The directions say to give the answer in radical form, so it means give the exact answer if it's like an irrational number. If it is an irrational number, to use a calculator and approximate the solution to 2 decimal spots. Okay, so for example 1, we're going to solve 1a is 4x squared minus 5 equals 2. Okay. If it helps, draw your line going down from your equal sign. So look at the side that has the x. We want to get rid of the constant, so get rid of minus 5. So to get rid of a negative 5, we add 5. So I still have 4x squareds, and then 2 plus 5 is 7. Okay, I'm trying to get x by itself, so instead of multiplying by 4, I'm going to divide by 4. Okay, to get rid of a square root, so I need to get x by itself, and right now it's x squared. The opposite of squaring, so we always do the opposite to get rid of things. The opposite of squaring is take square root, because squaring a square root removes it. So if I take the square root as this side, the left side, it's going to cancel out that 2 that's hanging in the air, the exponent, so that I'm left with just the x. If I square root the left side, I have to square root the right side. So x is the square root of 7 over 4. That'll be your exact answer, because there's no number times itself that's 7 over 4. You can put this in the calculator, so if I put 7 over 4, 7 divided by 4, that's 1.75. So you could also say it's x is the square root of 1.75, and the square root of 1.75 is, move myself out of the way, it's irrational because there's no number times itself. So this, oops, where am I there? This answer, either of these are the exact answers. But because they're irrational, the directions say to round it also to 2 decimal spots. So these are the exact answers. You can leave it as a fraction, or as long as the fraction terminates when you make it into a decimal, I'm okay with the decimal as well. It's just when the decimal goes on forever, you can't just randomly round because you feel like it. You have to have the exact answer. So either of these are good for the exact answer. And then the directions ask you to round to 2 decimal spots. So then x is approximately, don't put x is equal to because it is not equal to. It's close to. And then 2 decimal spots, that's going to be 1.32. So that'll be your rounded answer. Okay, let's try another one. Oh, and on that one, I almost forgot. It needs to be the positive and the negative answers for them, because when you take the square root, it's going to be, from up here, it's going to be the positive and the negative. So on both of them, however you want to write it, sometimes we write it with a plus minus there, or a plus minus there, or you can write it out as x is approximately 1.32 and x is approximately negative 1.32. So just make sure you're noting that there's 2 answers. There's going to be the positive answer and the negative answer. So you can show that with either plus minus, or you can separate them out. Okay, got 1b. 2x squared minus 8 equals 0. I draw a line going down. Look at the side that has the x. I'm going to get rid of my minus 8 first, so add 8 to both sides. Zero plus 8 is 8. Look at the side that has the x. Right now we're going to get rid of multiplying by 2, so divide by 2. So I have x squared equals 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, to get rid of that exponent of a 2, we're going to square root it because that'll cancel out the exponent, so I'm left with x equals, and if I square root one side, I have to square root the other side. The square root of 4, so remember it's going to be the positive and the negative answer, so plus minus, what number times itself is 4 is 2. So x equals 2, and x could equal negative 2. And those are the exact answers, and then obviously we don't need to round it because that's the full answer. That's the exact answer. Which one am I on? Sorry, I have 2 computers up. Okay, now you're going to do some on your own. You can work with a friend on this one. 3x squared, sorry, let's see, 3x squared plus 6 equals 33. Okay, pause this video right now and work on this, and then unpause it and check your answer. Okay, here's the answer. First, you need to subtract 6 from both sides. Then you needed to divide both sides by 3. And then the last step is to take the square root to get rid of the exponent. And the square root of 9, what number times itself is 9, is 3. So it's positive 3 and negative 3. Okay, here's another one. Five x squared minus 9 equals 2. Okay, go ahead and work on that one with your friends. Okay, here is the exact answers. You can either leave it as a fraction, it's the plus minus square root of 11 over 5, or 11 over 5 comes out to be exactly 2.2, so you could say it's the square root, the positive and negative square root of 2.2. So those are the exact answers, or it's in radical form, sometimes the directions will say. And then to round that, the square root of 2.2 comes out to be this. So we're rounding it to 2 decimal spots. So it's either going to be 4.8 or 4.9. So we look next door. Next door is a 3. So that means it's going to stay. So x is approximately, it's not exact, so don't put the equal sign. It's the positive and negative 1.48. Or you could say x is approximately 1.48 and x is approximately negative 1.48. Okay, just make sure you're using the approximation key, or approximation symbol. Okay, moving on to example 2. Example 2 is asking us still to solve. It says give the answer in radical form and then use the calculator to approximate the solution to 2 digits. So same as this one. If you're getting an irrational number, give me the exact answer and then also round it to 2 decimal spots. Okay, this one is for 2a. In parentheses, x plus 5, and then square that outside of the parentheses, equals 36. Okay, here, we're going to draw a line going down from the equal sign. Here, this is, I need to deal with whatever's in the parentheses, however, it's being squared. So first thing we want to do is get rid of the squaring here, because then I can deal with what's in the parentheses. So the first step here is going to be to find the square root, because I want to get rid of that 2 in the air. So squaring a square root will get rid of it, so I'll just have x plus 5. Okay, if I take the square root of one side, I have to take the square root of the other side. Now the square root of 36, remember it's going to be positive and negative. It's positive and negative. 36 is 6. 6 times 6 is 36. So for something like this, now I'm going to have to separate this actually into 2 different problems, because x plus 5 needs to equal 6, and then x plus 5 also needs to equal negative 6. So because I have 2 answers here, you're going to split this into 2 math problems. X plus 5 equals the positive 6, and then x plus 5 also equals negative 6. And then go ahead and solve those. Those should be fairly easy to do, probably in your head too, but I'm going to show the work form. Subtract 5, and I get x equals 1. Subtract 5 and subtract 5, and then I get x equals negative 11. And those are your 2 answers. Should I get all that right? Negative 11 and 1? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Let's do another one. This is 2b. 3 parentheses x minus 5 squared equals 18. Okay, here I can't take the square root yet because the square root is attached to x minus 5. So the first thing, before I can take that square root of that, I have to get rid of this times 3 over here, because eventually I'm going to want to square root this. Okay, I don't want to square root the 3 though. So right now I'm getting rid of, the 3 is touching the parentheses, so that means it's multiplying. So to get rid of multiplying by 3, we're going to divide by 3. So divide this side and this side. Divide the left and then the right. Okay, oops. 3 divided by 3 is just 1. So I still have my x minus 5 squared. And then 18 divided by 3 is 6. Okay, I want to get this x by itself. Right now I'm squaring a bunch of this stuff. So we're going to square root and then square root. So squaring a square root, that'll get rid of this, both of them. So you'll just be left with x minus 5 equals, there's no number times itself, that's 6. So just leave it right now as the radical 6. So it's plus minus the square root of 6. Okay, look at the side that has the x. I want to get rid of minus 5, so I'm going to add 5. Sorry. Add 5 to this side. Okay, so if x equals, okay, the 5 is being added to whatever the square root of 6 is. So do not put the 6 and the 5 together. Do not write it is not the square root of 11. Okay, this is going to be, so we're going to have a positive square root of 6, which when we write the positive, we don't have to put the plus sign. So it's the square root of 6, and then outside of the square root symbol, that radical symbol, then you'll put your plus 5. Make sure it's outside. If it's in underneath that radical sign, it's wrong. X is also negative square root of 6 plus 5. Or you can write it as x equals plus negative square root of 6 plus 5. Either way. So those are all the exact answers. You can write it like this or like this. These are exact answers. And then in the directions it did say if you need a calculator to approximate the solution to 2 decimal spots. So we're going to do the square root. Sorry, let me pause this and get some water. Okay, sorry. So these are the exact answers, and then these are going to be the rounded answers. Okay, we're going to practice putting this in your calculator. When you put this into your calculator, you need to make sure if you're putting in the square root of 6, you're going to have to make sure you arrow to the right so that that plus 5 is not underneath the radical sign. So this is what I mean. So you'll put in the square root of 6. So on your calculator right now, I need everybody doing this. Then you're going to arrow to the right, because you don't. If you go ahead and you finish writing plus 5, it's gonna stick it underneath the radical sign, and we don't want that. So we want to do square root of 6, arrow to the right, so now it's not in the radical sign, and then do plus 5. Or if you want to do, sometimes what I do is square root of 6. I just hit enter and then do your plus 5. Either way, so you're going to end up with this answer. It says to round it to 2 decimal spots. So 4-4 or 4-5. So look next door. Next door is a 9, so that means it's going to be up to 4-5. So x is approximately 7.45. So that's the top one doing the positive. Positive square root of 6 plus 5 is about 7.45. And then let's do the negative one. So in your calculator, do negative square root of 6 and then plus 5. So negative square root of 6, arrow to the right, or just hit enter if you want, and then now plus 5. Okay, we're rounding to 2 decimal spots, so 5-5 or 5-6. The number next door is a 0, so keep it at 5-5. What did I say, 2.55? I it right? Yes, okay. So if you get an irrational answer, I'll need the radical answer, the exact answer, and I also need the approximated answer. Okay, now we're going to do some on your own. And I know this is getting a little tricky, so if you want to do this still with me, that's okay. But if you are comfortable now doing some of these on your own or with your friends, you can do that. Okay, this is on your own number 3. Oops, can't see that. 4 parentheses x plus 10 squared equals 24. Okay, if you think you're ready and you want to try doing this, you can go ahead and pause the video right now. If you want me to walk you through it step by step, you can go ahead and keep playing the video. Okay, looking at the side that has the x, the first thing I want to get rid of is multiplying by 4. So divide by 4, divide by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. 4 divided by 4 is just 1, so I'm just have x plus 10 squared left over there. To get rid of squaring, we're going to square root. Square root. So I have x plus 10 equals the positive and the minus square root of 6. There is no number times itself, that is 6. Then we're going to subtract 10 from both sides. So the exact answer is x equals positive and minus square root of 6 and then minus 10. Or x equals square root of 6 minus 10 and x equals the negative square root of 6 minus 10. Those are the exact answers. And then we'll put it in the calculator for the rounded answer. Square root of 6 and then minus 10. X is approximately negative 7.55. And then we're doing the negative square root of 6 minus 10. And x is approximately negative 12 point, and that's going to round to 4.5. Okay, one more, and then we'll be done. Oh, parentheses, x minus 9 squared equals 64. So if you're comfortable with that one and you want to just pause this video right now and solve it yourself, go ahead and pause it. If you need a little bit more help with it, just stay with the video. Okay, we're going to look at the side that has the x. We're going to get rid of squaring. So to get rid of squaring, we're going to square root. So I have x minus 9 equals the positive minus square root of 64 is 8. So x minus 9, we're going to do plus 9 plus 9. So this ends up being two different problems. We're going to have x equals, we're going to have the positive 8 plus 9, and then x is going to be equal to the negative 8 plus 9. So x is 8 plus 9 is 17, and negative 8 plus 9 is 1. So x is equal to 1 and 17. Okay, I think that's it for this lesson. Okay, tomorrow, I will be back tomorrow, and we'll do an exit ticket in class together practicing this. And double check PowerSchools, make sure you have everything turned in. I have a lot of you guys that have missing work, so you only have a week and a half and grades are done.